Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's Total Materia Global Webinar. My name is Natalia, and I'll be, hosting the webinar for today. We're just going to wait a minute or two for others to trickle in and to join, probably joining in from other meetings. So, sit tight for another 2 minutes, and then we're going to get started with everything. In the meantime, if you have any questions, I know we haven't really talked about anything, but if you have any questions, please add them in the questions box and we will, go through them perhaps at the end of the webinar. Thank you, everyone. All right, so I think we could get started. Of course, during the presentation, if anyone has any questions, please feel free to add it in the questions box. If we can't get over all the questions by the end of the presentation, or at the end rather, because the webinar is only going to last about a little bit less than 45 minutes, we will send you an answer to those questions perhaps today or tomorrow. Again, for those who just joined in, my name is Natalia. I'm the application specialist at Total Materia. And today we're going to go through Total Materia, what it's all about, how it could solve some of your current material issues, or if you're having any other troubles with material information, sharing that information, exporting information to different software and whatnot, Total Materia could be a solution for you. So just a little bit about us before we get started and talk about all our different solutions. We started back, as you see, actually in 1999, so not even 2000, 1999, and throughout the years we've actually added in so much more material information. We started from 13,000 metals, and now we have over 500,000 designations. We went from adding in non-metallic materials, creating different partnerships with CA software, OEMs for spectrometers, of course, the ISO double certification, and we actually launched a new interface back last year. Our headquarters are in Zurich, Switzerland. Our development office is in Belgrade, Serbia, and we have customers in over 100 different countries. Our team consists of, numerous subject experts, so people who are actually curating and adding in the information into Total Materia, different support specialists around the world, so we help cater towards our clients. As you can see, we have customers in many different countries, meaning we have customers who know many different languages as well, and we do have support specialists in different languages too. Also, we have our own in-house IT and software engineering team, so we're able to quickly get and produce new products and new integrations within Total Materia. So just wanted to give you a little bit of information on who we are before we get into the solution side of things. So firstly, what is Total Materia? Total Materia is essentially a curated materials properties database and of course a great materials decision-making tool. So besides different properties you may have, or different naming, designations, different material groups, Total Materia actually helps with all its different functionalities to help you choose the best material for your product. Maybe you need to substitute a specific material. Maybe you need to find the same material in a different standard. Total Materia is here to help and basically solve and document different challenges, allowing the team to work faster and, of course, and most importantly, with more efficiency. So just a little bit about our second solution called Integrator. That's a private materials database for your approved materials, different testing data, documentation, and intellectual property. And what's great about Integrator is you kind of get the best of both worlds. You get external material information from Total Materia, and you have different capabilities to add in your own material information to Integrator. And you could integrate different software. You could export things a lot more quicker in bulk export. But just wanted to give you a kind of a lowdown on Integrator very quickly, but we're going to continue on this presentation with Total Materia. So if you're interested in Integrator, you'll probably be bored for the rest of the presentation. I suggest you send me an email and we will go through a demo for Integrator specifically. But now we're going to continue on with Total Materia. Of course, Total Materia has created software as a service solution. So it's very easy to quickly add in different usernames, different access. We offer the platform in over 26 different languages. It's deployed almost instantly, so you're never going to have to do any heavy lifting on the IT side of things because you could quickly access Total Materia through the web. Our solution helps customers in different ways. Firstly, and most importantly, for our materials engineers, it eases material selection because you could search for materials, compare, find different compliance regulation data for those materials, and find different global equivalences if perhaps you're creating a product in different regions. It allows users to share that information, report on a material, export to different tools like ANSYS, Abacus, SolidWorks, over 20 different software, and it helps manage your frequently used materials as well as all the different materials externally, not your private materials, of course, but all that external material information. You're able to actually organize that all very well in Total Materia. And of course, it increases efficiency and helps speed up the approval process when you're trying to do the substitution of materials or choosing a new material for your product or for your BOM assessment. Which is great because with all of this, you could save money, time, and also improve quality. Some current problems that could be avoided with Total Materia: not having material data. We have over 500,000 designations. I'm sure you could find something in our database or in our solution rather. No traceability to data sources sometimes, inaccurate searches on different search engines, multiple information silos across the company, non-comparable information, having this standard to that standard, inaccurate simulation, and we could go on and on about different issues that could arise and could be avoided with Total Materia, which I'm sure you're going to quickly realize when we go through the presentation and the demo. But of course, before we get into the functionalities and into the application itself, it's great to learn what is all the information that we have that's connected to the heart of the solution. Firstly, we have metallic material information, over 370,000 commercial metals, and you can find composition, mechanical and physical properties, heat treatment diagrams, and heat treatment information from standards, machinability information, magnetic and metallography data as well. About 70% of the information come from standards, and about 30% come from different producer data sheets. Next, we have Poly Plus. Over there, you could find non-metallic material information. Comes from polymers, composites, fibers, ceramics, wood, honeycombs. And you could also find, like with our metallic materials, mechanical, physical, thermal, and electrical properties. Of course, it's great having all this different material information, but if you don't know the compliance regulations attached to these materials, you'll have to do extra digging somewhere else. But luckily, Total Materia follows over 300 different regulations for over 50,000 materials and substances, And we're actually going to go through a functionality that we just added in to Total Materia, which you could quickly assess compliance based on chemical composition. Because as you know, for most metallic materials, sometimes composition information is given, but compliance information is not. Kind of a little bit different from the non-metallic materials from different producers. It's great to also know how your material behaves in different mediums. That's why we have corrosion, weatherability, aging, and irradiation information, and also welding, brazing, adhesion, tribology, coatings, and lubricants information. And finally, last but not least, we have advanced material properties for our different simulation teams. You could find, tens of thousands of different diagrams coming from stress strain curves, formability, fatigue, fracture mechanics, and creep data. And as you know, this information is a little bit harder to find on different search engines and different platforms. But in Total Materia, we have the highest range of advanced material properties than any other platform. And of course, you might think, how can we trust Total Materia with all the different information that we're adding in? Firstly, we update the database on a monthly basis. So we update thousands of different materials per month because we do different tracking through producer data sheets, as well as different standards and different textbooks that come out with new volumes. And also, we're the only ISO certified materials database in the world, 9001 for quality, of course, and the others for service reliability, so you could always have access to Total Materia, data protection, and privacy rights of individuals, so privacy rights to our customers. And we're also Veracode Continuous certified. And on top of all the different data sets we were talking about, Total Materia also have different functionalities that help you get to your end goal in terms of maybe substituting material, finding a good alternative, maybe in a different country. Perhaps you have to replace a material, and on and on. If you need to identify material based on chemical composition, we have a great tool called Smart Comp. Essentially, you add in, you could even manually input different chemical compositions, or you could input a file from different spectrometers, and then you could quickly find and identify that metallic material. Next, if you want to export material data quickly, create different material cards, you could export material properties to over 26 different software. You could see a little bit of the ones named below: Abacus, CATIA, NX, Altair products. So there's really a lot of different things you could go with Total Materia in terms of exporting data. Material Console, this is my favorite functionality of them all. This helps you create consistency, efficiency, and of course limits repetition. And why is that? Because you could create different material lists, you could save searches, bookmarks, favorite frequently used materials, and create reports. And what's great about it is that you could create them, save them, so you could go back to what you were working on, as well as share with different team members that also have Total Materia access. And finally, Compliance Assessor. So this is the functionality I was speaking to you about a couple of slides ago in terms of compliance. And essentially, it instantly shows which materials and substances are compliant to specific regulations. So of course, those regulations who only require a limited amount of maybe substances of very high concern, you could quickly go through the chemical composition, and Compliance Assessor will quickly assign if it's compliant and not compliant to the regulation. So you don't have to do that through many different materials. We cover over 80 standard organizations around the world, 37,000 different standards, hundreds of different producer data sheets, and all in all, we have cross-referencing capabilities between those international standards, as well as the producer data sheets. There's a reference listed for every data value, so you're never going to wonder where we got this information from. There are patented algorithms to find similar materials based on different properties. And 100% of the data is compiled by our subject experts And those are the 30 plus in our team that are either chemical, mechanical, or materials engineers that take the time to read the information, curate it, proofread it, and then put it onto our platform. So we don't have different data entry associates just adding in different information. We try to collect all that information and curate it so you don't have to, and you could save a lot of time. So before we get into the demo, don't worry, this is the last slide. So we're actually going to go into total material in just a moment. I just wanted to quickly kind of give a sneak peek on the new solutions that are coming out. So firstly, Greenline. Greenline is a compliance tool that is very specifically made for compliance specialists. So kind of what we have right now, but on steroids. And basically, you could answer different questions about composition, regulations, and different product level compliance. And it's a built-in tool with all the different compliance information that is already in Total Materia. So all the different data and the different substances that we follow those hundreds of over 300 global regulations, life cycle assessment tool, as well as a bomb assessment. And essentially it enables teams to react to different issues, supply chain issues, finding immediate substitutions. So you don't have to go back to a different system, assess your BOM, do a LCA. It's all in one place. So that's what Greenline is, and that's very specific to compliance teams. And of course, not everyone will need to have access to Greenline. You could choose who would have access to Greenline if you have a corporate account, let's say. And finally, kind of something that's very interesting, and as you know, machine learning has become such a big topic around the world. We've actually created a product called Predictor, and essentially it allows engineers to predict properties based on machine learning. So if they need different alternatives, or if simply the property does not exist in current standards or in this heat treatment, you could use Predictor to quickly predict different properties at various conditions. We already have a couple of different metallic and non-metallic material groups ready for this, and then we're going to keep adding on over the next couple months. And most importantly, when we look at costs, it minimizes costly material testing prices. And as you know, a topic of conversation that has been kind of circulating around is that many different companies are trying to minimize material testing and going into FEA, which is great. But if you don't have that data to do your analysis in, then you would have to go through all these material testing costly procedures. But with Predictor, you'll be able to predict those different properties. And now we're going to get into the demo. I hope I didn't bore you too much with the PowerPoint. So here is the home screen to Total Materia. As you can see, you could actually switch from metric to imperial units at any time while you're working with the product, which is great because if you're looking for certain material information and you want to quickly find what you're looking for, you could quickly do that, convert it, and then share all that information with different teams who perhaps use different units. And also you could switch the language at any time. If it's easier for you to use a different language, you could do so. And all the different functionalities and data sets that we were speaking about are all at the top here. And as you notice now with the new interface, we don't have total metals and poly plus anymore. Now we have just one called total search. So you'll be able to search all the different data over here and then go through all these different functionalities as well. So before we get into the flow of the presentation, I just wanted to quickly show you Smart Comp because this is our metal identifications tool, and it's a little bit hard to add it into the whole flow of the presentation. But essentially, it works very, very simply. You could either add in the chemical composition, of course, change the base element, select the standard and similarity threshold. So if you want to import the chemical composition, I already have an Excel file ready to go. As you notice, you could add in different things too. So I'm going to add in my file. Click on search. And while it's loading, you'll be able to see at the bottom, we get a couple of good identifiers. So scrolling down, about 360 materials with the similarity threshold of at least 70%. And you can see this material is closest to this GB material. And if you want to, view the material properties for this material, you could click on View Material Properties and then check out its mechanical, physical, chemical composition, and all the other data that we were speaking about earlier. And you could create a report on it, save it, and do all the rest of it. So it's very easy to use. You could even add it to Material List Builder, which is the functionality material console, where you're allowed to add materials and go on about with your research. So it's very easy to use. And there's different modes. And if you're interested in SmartComp, I suggest you register for a free trial, check it out a little bit, and then you'll also have my email. So if you have any specific questions, feel free to send me an email and I'd be happy to help you out. So now we're back at the home page. There's different ways to search for materials. You could do a quick search. If you know the material designation, great. You could type it in here, select different material groups, standards, producers, types, you name it. You could also do an advanced search. So if you don't know the exact material you're looking for, but you have different property constraints, you could go to advanced search and you could add in all the same things like you did in quick search, but you could add in a range in chemical composition. So you could have boron at a certain range, or it's simply not allowed. You could add up to 200 mechanical and physical properties coming from tensile strength, impact, yield, modulus of elasticity, density, and from physical properties. And finally, what's great for our metallic material users is that you could search for different heat treatment diagrams. So you could specify which ones you need in your material. So you don't go searching through all those 500,000 designations. If you need your material to have magnetic properties or metallography data, so microstructure diagrams, you could add in all of that here. You could search for materials based on standard list. So if I want to see all the different SAE standards we have in the database, I could simply select SAE here. All the materials that are associated with the standard. If the materials have been withdrawn, related standards, and then you could go on and on and on. See the standards with the most materials. And if I want to check out the list of these materials, very simply select M here, and then you could go into the standard list and check out everything. So those are the different ways you could search for materials. And material discovery is a great tool for academia or kind of the start to a research project. You could compare different material groups based on different properties. So if I want to, select yield strength and tensile strength, at a room temperature, and if I click on show results, you'll see the full range for all the different material groups in the database that have these properties. Of course, this is very broad, but I'll show you a quick example. If you needed a tensile strength of at least, let's say 1,500, if I click on show results, you'll already see polymers would not make the cut and it's grayed out. If I want to simply compare all the non-ferrous alloys, double click on the diagram and you'll be able to see which non-ferrous alloys also don't have such a high tensile strength. And of course, once you're done with all that different research, you could highlight which material groups you want to forward to advanced search. So it's very easy to use the application to the fullest. So of course, let's now get into the material data side of things. It's great that we have all these different data sets and functionalities, but of course, if that's not of use to you, then we didn't do our job right. I'm going to show you a quick example on how to search for a material and how you could extract those material properties. So I'm going to search for 304 IC, very common stainless steel. So I get to my material page. Before we get into the data, you could actually favorite the material if it's frequently used. You can see I show this material often in demos because it has a lot of different material information from different sources. I could add the material to list builder in case I want to build a list of materials, report, so adding in different diagrams and different values, export different materials to software, and also bookmark the page too. So now we're in mechanical properties, and on the right-hand side, you could see all the different data that this material is linked to, like chemical composition, cross-referencing. So if I want to find an equivalent material, if it's an identical material from a different standard, or if it's a different equivalent, I have over 2,000 to choose from. Official equivalents, identical materials, the same material with the same chemical composition, and on and on. I could also find a similar material based on equivalence finder, which I'll show an example on when we go into the non-metallic material side of things. But now let's go back to mechanical properties. Synthetic view provides a great quick view on what we have here in terms of room temperature. If I want to quickly see, okay, what is the high temperature data we have? I could also do that over here. But I want to go into details view. So I want to really check out, okay, what's this range from 76 to 131? What are the different properties and conditions for this? So I go into details view. You can see the temperature stays at above 300 degrees. Different references available, official, so official standards, and then all of these other references too. Different heat treatment options, forms, properties. I could even reset this. It goes back to room temperature. So you can see for room temperature data, we have over 170 conditions. And if I want to look at the form of wires, there's 74 conditions to choose from. And then I could look at all the different properties. If I want to change the temperature value, very simple, 30 to 100 degrees, I get one condition, but luckily this condition gives me some diagrams. So I could do some comparative analysis. So I have data from 38 degrees to 200 for both yield and tensile strength. If I want to add this to report builder to be able to send it off to someone later on, I could do so very quickly. So I added that in. And I could go on with my different research. And of course, we could go through all these different property groups. But one thing I love to show is our metallography data, especially for our metallurgists. We have tons of different conditions available. And luckily, you could also, let's say, select a specific condition and also quickly add it into Report Builder. So there's a lot of different things you could do with Total Materia. But let's say you're in a specific simulation group and you want to quickly export a stress strain curve. Simply go to stress strain here. Of course, you have a condition selector for every different kind of property tab. So if you want to quickly find in the form of billets, you can see all those different conditions. All right, this condition has one curve, but let's say I want to choose a strain rate from 0.1 to 1. We have 3 different conditions, and this one actually has many different curves at once. You don't have to copy paste the information like this. If you simply go to this arrow here at the top, export to z.akyuz, you'll be able to select the solver. So I'll select ANSYS as an example. And you could select different properties, of course, but I'm only interested in stress strain in the form of billets. And I believe we were looking at a strain rate of 0.1. So this is the condition here. I could select whichever diagram I want and then export it quickly. And when I export this, I'll be able to get an ANSYS zip file, and you'll see based on what I'm looking at, I get an XML file, so you could quickly import that information to ANSYS and be on with your simulation. So it's really great, so you could quickly go in and out. And you could do that with different solvers as well. And if you see a solver, or if you don't rather see a solver that you use, please send us an email and we'd be happy to implement that into Total Materia. So of course, we could go on and on about the different material information that we have. As you see, over 10,000 conditions for corrosion. So this material had different mediums, aging, tribology, joints, and so on and so forth. But I kind of want to go back to the report that I was building because I want to quickly send it off to someone that I'm working with. So to do that, I need to go to Material Console. Of course, our material list builder is empty since we didn't add any materials, and simply go to Report Builder. Under Report Builder, you'll see all these different properties that we were looking at. And of course, this image is a little bit cut up, which is okay because you could add in a page break to make sure all of it looks very nice. You could save it. So I'm going to save it as global webinar today. I could automatically download it as a PDF, and I could also share with others in case we want to collaborate on this report. If we want to add in different things, we could quickly copy that and be ready to go. And then you could re-access that back into my console. So we have favorited materials, bookmarks, save searches, material list, and reports here. And if we go on to save reports, you'll be able to see global webinar today. So now I want to show you a quick example on how you could utilize total search and specifically advanced search to find a list of materials based on certain property constraints. So I'm going to go to my saved search because I've saved a couple of different searches that I've done. And I'm going to choose ferrous alloys, some DIN and GB alloys. So I'm going to load that up. And you could see under advanced search, I didn't have to re-add in all these different constraints. So a yield strength at a minimum of 300 megapascals at a temperature of over 100 degrees, so on and so forth. I was able to just save it from before and go on my way. So essentially, I'm searching for GB or DIN material, structural and constructional steel with all these different property constraints. And I want to find the one that's most optimal for my design. How do I do that? I could highlight these materials and add it to Material List Builder. So the reason why I want to go to List Builder is perhaps I want to send this list off to someone so they could help me decide what's the best alloys. So which one should we choose? Perhaps I want to check out first if they're all compliant or not to a specific regulation. A compliance assessor. Now we're redirected to compliance here. Let's say we're checking out EU in terms of Article 59, REACH. And let's see what we get. Luckily, most of these materials, and if we go through each of them, of course, you'll see that they're all compliant because they have no substances of very high concern based on their chemical composition. And just to add in, you could also pin these materials, add them to Report Builder, and also print them off as PDF automatically. So great, we know all these materials are compliant, but now I want to find the material with the highest yield strength and tensile strength. It's very simple. I add it to a certain comparison view. I like using analytics the most, but you could compare materials side by side like this if you want to do a more in-depth search. And take a look at all the different conditions, all the different properties, and so on and so forth. You could compare based on a property under properties here. So let's say tensile. and see the range. But I like analytics the best because you could visually see based on different axes in terms of, let's say, yield and tensile to see which one has the highest range, which one has the most conditions, and so on and so forth. And I could see based on this thin material would have the highest both yield and tensile strength. So I would be able to select this material and see specifically based on its conditions what the values are. And you can see it has two conditions here. And if I want to see all the different conditions at different temperatures, I could check that out as well for both yield and tensile. So there's really a lot of different things you could do in terms of compliance, comparing different materials, utilizing that information. But it's really important to see that it's very easy to use total materia and to quickly find the information that you're looking for. So time's running a little bit. So I just wanted to quickly show Macrolon 1095, a very common polycarbonate, for you to see basically searching for a polycarbonate, same process. You could add in the material designation. You could favor the material. You also have all the different things on the right-hand side, but no, for non-metals, you also have compliance, which you could also put this material into compliance assessor, but compliance has all the different regulations from the SDS sheets, so we put that in for you, so you could quickly look at it all at once. So we have the same type of information here. And for non-metallic materials, of course, most of the materials are not standardized, so you're not going to get a really good cross-reference table. As you see, we got ISO, and if I want to quickly compare this material, I could do so over here, but this material doesn't really have any information. So how would I find equivalent non-metallics in total materia? That's where equivalence finder comes into play. So I could select a couple of different properties that should be similar. So I want to find a material similar to Macrolon 1095 that have similar yield strength, tensile strength, or let's say tensile strength, and maybe under physical properties, CLT, and under chemical composition, I'm going to select chemical composition, and that means I'm looking within the polycarbonate family. You could select different search sensitivities, so maybe I need my yield strength to be plus minus 1% of this value, and plus minus 10% in terms of medium for the other properties. Then I could quickly get a list of these materials, and you'll see if I quickly compare these materials, there's a lot more information that I could use, and you could actually get an equivalent material that way. So it's really great to utilize Equivalence Finder. So I know that I spoke probably a little bit fast. We went through a lot of different information, but of course, if you really want to learn more about total materia, I would suggest for you to give me a call, and I would be happy to provide some more information. But just to end off the webinar very quickly, as you saw throughout the demo, we have different tools and integrations to help support your team. So different material information, compliance information, material console to help you share all that information with one another is great for different material specialists and product stewards. For our quality teams, having a metal identification tool so you could quickly see if the materials that you're buying from your supplier are working out. If you want to do a little bit of reverse engineering, you could quickly find the data you're looking for. Supply chain purchasing and sales, especially if they're working in engineering firms, they need to perhaps buy these materials and all of that. And it's really great for them to quickly find the material information that they're looking for, or finding different equivalences based on cross-referencing. And one thing I forgot to touch on, we also have suppliers information, so you could quickly see which materials or which suppliers produce specific material designations. And then for simulation, of course, CAE and CAD, having advanced material properties, basic material properties, and being able to export those materials very quickly is a great addition. And of course, there's no I in team having material console, so you could share all that information with one another. Just makes the process so much easier, less screenshots, and less kind of time for error. So you could quickly share all that information with Material Console. You know, one solution doesn't meet everyone's needs. That's why we provide different packages to help you find the right solution for your team. Our pricing is very, you know, we don't lie about our pricing for single user, network S, M, and L, so 10, 25, 50 user license, depending on the locations, the modules you want, so the different components. You have so many different options to find what's really right for you and your team. And as you could see, based on other products engineering products rather, were not very expensive. So even if you want to give it a try for a year, you could go as low as $800. But of course, if you need to provide material information for a bigger team, you could see that the prices are fairly low compared to all these different softwares that are sold. And in terms of next steps, what's included in if you want to go with the trial with us, unlimited multi-user access for 2 weeks. And that includes technical support and numerous training sessions done. And if you want to get started with this process, first, it's great to understand your needs, to find your material users, so you could take full advantage of Total Materia, check our data, explore our features, validate your success using Total Materia, and finally, hopefully solve your problems. So I appreciate everyone taking the time to learn more about Total Materia. So since we have only a couple minutes left, I think, yes, only 3, I won't be able to go over all the questions, but I'm gonna stay online for the next couple of minutes, and feel free to add in whatever you want into the questions box, and you will get an email after the webinar with the link to the recording, and you'll have my contact information there. So everyone, again, thank you for watching the webinar. I hope you learned a little bit. I hope we could solve some of your troubles that you're currently having with material information and within your engineering teams. You could always give us a call, send me an email, and I'd be happy to help you out. Thank you so much, and hope everyone has a great day. Thank you. All right, everyone, thank you for all the different questions. I'm going to drop off and end the webinar. You have my email, so if you didn't have time to add it into the questions box, please feel free to send me an email, and I would be happy to answer all your questions. Thank you so much, everyone, and I hope everyone has a great day. Take care and bye for now.